Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about love, and specifically romantic love. So I'm not someone who's really been interested in love or has believed in love. I didn't see it as a fairy tale where you meet your soulmate and then you live happily ever after. I've just never seen it that way. But recently I've been thinking about what actually does make a successful relationship that lasts for a long time. And I analysed the things that actually went wrong in my previous relationships, and I tried to think about what was actually missing. So I compiled a list in order to kind of define the elements of a successful relationship. So what I'm about to say isn't exactly rocket science, and I'm sure people have written loads of books about it, but I've never read them and it's the first time I'm thinking about it. So I'm hoping that people get something valuable out of this video. I just want to say that I understand that everybody's different and some people are aromantic or asexual, so they may not be able to relate to everything I'm going to talk about in this video. But I would say in general, as a population, we have specific things that we look for in relationships. So here goes. So number one, respect. So respect is really important. Respect is basically what we like about that person. So it could be characteristics such as being honest, their integrity, their kindness, their loyalty, their intelligence. And that's kind of the glue that sticks everything together. I feel like when we lose respect for our partners, then the relationship is over. And we start to lose respect when we see their weaknesses. So for example, if somebody keeps lying over and over again, eventually you will lose respect for them. So if you got to the stage where your partner just annoys you, even the way they breathe is irritating to you, then you've lost respect for them. It's when you get the ick and you're just completely disgusted with them, and that's probably the time where you need to move on. The next element is intimacy. So intimacy is multifaceted, but I would say it's mostly about emotional intimacy and physical intimacy. So emotional intimacy is when you can be vulnerable with your partner. It's where you can share your deepest fears and desires without fearing being judged or rejected. So if you don't feel like you can talk about deep topics with your partner and that they won't understand, it probably means that you don't have an emotional connection with them. It doesn't mean that the relationship is doomed, because you can build an emotional connection. But if they're unwilling to build with you and you're still struggling with the same issues, months dating, years dating, then it's probably not going to work. They're probably emotionally unavailable. So unless you're complete psychopaths, it's impossible to build a successful relationship without emotional intimacy. Emotional intimacy is about trust. So when you're able to be intimate with your partner and share everything, then you can build trust from there. The other type of intimacy is physical intimacy. So this might not apply to people who are asexual or aromantic, but it's important that we find our partner physically attractive. If we don't, then it's like we're just friends or they're our cousin or something. Relationships can survive without physical intimacy, but mostly it's usually marriages of convenience where people are just staying for the kids or social status. And it's not the best type of relationship to aim for. It's really important to be attracted to your partner and want to be affectionate with your partner. I've been in this kind of relationship where we eventually had no physical intimacy, and I didn't even want him near me. I didn't want him to hold my hand, nothing. And it's not pleasant. It really isn't. It destroys a relationship. The third element is care. So care is basically, do you like your partner? Do you want to see them happy? Do you want to do little things to make them happy? That's care. And this is the downfall of a lot of marriages where people stop caring. Basically, gifts are a way to show care. It shows that you're thinking about your partner when you're not with them. Also, it's not just gifts, it's doing things for them. So, do you cook for them? Are you doing household chores? Are you just doing little things to make them happy? Are you rubbing their feet? That also shows care. You also need to think about how you speak to your partner. Are you snapping at them? Are you being irritated with them? It's important to be gentle and loving towards your partner as much as you can, because those kind of things can breed hostility between you. So a lack of care is when you're taking your partner for granted and you're neglecting the relationship. And it's really important that you avoid this and are constantly showing your partner that you care about them. Number 4, commitment. Commitment is where you're doing everything you can to make the relationship work. So it's not about just committing yourself to one partner. Someone who's polyamorous could be committed. It's about having a set of rules and boundaries and sticking to it. But unfortunately, human beings are fickle and we change our minds a lot. So I think a lot of problems occur because people don't think about what they want before they get into a relationship. They don't plan or think about what they actually desire. And I've had a lot of arguments with guys about this. So in the beginning of a relationship, I want to know where I stand or what they want, and they want to be vague. So a lot of people these days have a whatever happens, happens attitude. And that's great when you're 17, but if you're in your 30s, 40s, I think it's really important that you have a plan because we don't have a lot of time left. I think the vagueness is a get out of jail free card. So basically, if you don't commit to anything, then you're not liable if it all goes wrong. And I've been advised by men not to look for anything specific. I should just go in open-minded. But the problem with that, if you're open-minded and you don't have a set goal, then you're going to be misled. So basically, if I go shopping and I don't have a list, I didn't think about what I want, then I'm going to come out of that shop with a bunch of junk that I don't even need. Whilst if I thought about what I wanted before I went in and made a list, I'm more likely to come out with things that I actually need. So I think it is important to make plans and think about what you want before you get into a relationship. So it's really important to ask questions like, do you want children? Do you want to get married? What do you see the future looking like? Where would you like to live in the future? Those questions are really important, but I think we downplay those questions because we're afraid of coming across as too needy and planning things too soon. But I actually find it attractive when a guy knows what he wants. When I meet a guy and he says, yeah, I want to get married, I want to have a long-term relationship straight away, I'm not scared because if I don't want to be with him, then I won't be with him. But at least I know what he wants and he's been honest about what he wants. Vagueness is so off-putting for me, and I feel like they're mature when they know what they want. But the problem is, even if you do have these conversations and you make agreements about what you want and you're both on the same page, the relationships can still fail because people change. People could agree not to have kids and then somebody says, actually, I do want to have kids, and that just ruins everything. Or somebody could just stop finding you attractive and want to leave the relationship. So you can't plan for everything. It's really difficult because you don't want people to be captive in unhappy relationships because we're human. But then people changing their minds, they just ruin people's lives because if you have kids and then you split up, it's really difficult. So I'm not sure how to deal with that situation or come up with a solution. But what I do think it's important, and this might be a bit morbid, but I think it is important to plan for the relationship to fail. So I don't mean that you need to be negative and expect it to fail. I mean that you should have a conversation with your partner. So say if you are getting married, have a conversation and say, what happens if this fails? What's the plan? And I'm not saying you will stick to the plan because bitterness and resentment, allows people to go through messy divorces and causes tension. But if you have a plan beforehand, it's more likely to run smoother than if you expected everything to go perfectly and it doesn't. So I think it's a good idea to kind of not expect that things are going to last forever. There's always a possibility that the relationship will end, but how would you be able to end it in the best way possible for the both of you? And I think that's what we should do. And I know some people will say, well, what's the point of getting married then? Well, I still think there is a benefit to marriage. I think there is a benefit to having a binding contract psychologically and I think financially, because if you have children, you want to know how you're going to deal with things, how you're going to split up the money. If you have a house, I do still think it's important. I also think having that psychological safety net of this might not work actually puts less pressure on the relationship, and I think it gives people a sense of freedom. And when you feel free, you might actually want to make it work even more. I think people don't understand that marriage is actually hard work and you have to make a lot of sacrifices. So I've never been married, but I have been in a long-term relationship for 12 years and it wasn't easy and it did take a lot of commitment. So I think that's why I'm really picky about marriage and if I'm actually going to be married, because I have to meet a guy who's on the same level of consciousness as I am. So I don't want to be with a whatever happens, happens kind of guy. I want to be with somebody who has a plan, somebody who thinks way beyond marriage. It's not about just settling down and being happy, how we're actually going to make it work. Also, I find it really unattractive when couples get divorces and they become really bitter and resentful and they try and get money out of each other and all that. I just don't want that. I want us to have the same respect for each other as we had when we were married. So I would want a guy who's not going to want to screw me over just because we're not married anymore. We're both going to make sure that we leave the relationship in a way that benefits the both of us. So I don't want to give the impression that commitment is based upon marriage, because again, you can be committed and not be married. However, I think commitment is having a list of terms and conditions that you both agree to and sticking to it. The final element is utility. So this is the most uncomfortable one. So this is what makes men angry and what makes women delusional. So utility is finding a partner who is actually useful to you. So are they making me happy? Are they feeding my ego? Are they giving me money? Am I being protected? So different things that we desire, are they actually fulfilling those needs? So first I'm going to talk about the financial side of utility. So it's kind of a taboo subject these days. We are taught that we should be disgusted at people who talk about money. But it's really important. In the olden days, they were much more upfront about this. So people would deliberately marry people who had money or social status, and it would be okay. Whilst now we pretend that we marry people just because we love them for who they are. And yeah, we still have gold diggers, but we're trained to look down on them and be disgusted with them. But me personally, I don't see anything wrong with gold digging, as long as you're both aware of it and you're both being upfront. So say if you have an old crusty billionaire and he's married a swimsuit model. Some people would say that she's a gold digger, and she might be. She's with him for the money, most likely, because I'm sure his personality isn't that good. But the thing is, we feel sorry for the billionaire that he's been used, but I'm sure they're both aware of it. They're not stupid. They know what they're both getting out of the relationship. So in that kind of relationship, the woman is getting financial support. She's able to feel secure because she's been provided for by the billionaire. The guy is getting a hot wife, so he's getting social status. Also, he's getting a bloodline if she has his children, and he's also getting companionship. But men who don't have money, they really struggle to see this, and they struggle to see why a billionaire would hook up with a gold digger. It's because he's got everything else that he needs, and he wants companionship. He wants someone who's going to be hot. And don't get those things for free. If you're not hot yourself, it's very unlikely that you're going to get a hot woman who's going to be interested in you. And I think movies are to blame for this, because in all of those movies from the 90s, it's always some average guy or below average who's getting a hot girl who just likes him for the way that he is. And his personality isn't great. He's a loser most of the time. But I think it gives guys a sense of entitlement that they're going to get that. But that's not how the world works. I don't think women who are not hot, the majority of them cannot get hot guys. They might get a guy to sleep with them, but they're not going to get commitment out of a hot, wealthy guy. But I think guys expect hot women to like them, even though they're not attractive themselves and they don't have money. But I think men who are wealthy, they do understand that. They understand that they have to bring something to the relationship to get what they want. And again, I don't see anything wrong with this. As a woman, I understand my position. I'm vulnerable. I'm weaker than men, and if I choose to have children, then I'm going to be vulnerable and I need someone to take care of me while I'm raising those children. It's biologically within a woman to be picky and assess who's going to be the father of her children, because her safety and the life of her children depends on it. And this is where modern women are delusional. We're being trained to ignore this. We're being trained just to see a guy for who he is. Even if he's poor or you can't look after a family, you still got to marry him and have kids with him. And then your kids will grow up in poverty and struggle. And that's okay. And we lie. I think most women lie about what they really want. I think self-preservation is being beaten out of women. And women are making these awful decisions and awful choices. They're actually putting them in danger. So I think that's why we have so much single motherhood. because we're taught just to go for the guy because we like him, not about what he can actually bring to us and how he's going to keep us safe. And again, we can harp on and on about equality, but we are not the same. Women are more vulnerable. We are physically more vulnerable, and we have children that we need to bear. So we need to be protected and provided for. So that's why financial status is important and power is important. Women like powerful men, because if a man's powerful, then he's able to protect you. And of course, not every woman is going to get this, because men like attractiveness. So men want to date attractive women. So if you are less attractive as a woman, then you're going to struggle a lot more to find a guy who's going to meet that criteria. But for me, I accept that, if I come to an age or whatever where I'm not seen as attractive, then I'll be alone. But I don't want to accept anything and put myself in danger. And I don't think women are lying on purpose. I think it's all subconscious because we want to be good girls. Movies have shamed us. We've seen the gold digger get her comeuppance and miss out on a really great guy. And we're just trying to be humble and we're trying to be good. But we're actually causing danger and harm to ourselves. We also want to be good feminists. So not every woman subscribes to feminism, but we are living in a feminist society in the West, even though everything isn't all equal, but we're pretending that it is. And to say that you want a man to protect and provide for you, that's anti-feminist. So a lot of women are uncomfortable with that, and we pretend that we don't need anything. And it's not just men who are angry at hypergamy. If I went up to a bunch of average women and I said that, I want a man to provide for me and protect me, I would be attacked. Honestly, I think a lot of women, their minds have been warped and they think that it's noble not to expect anything from a man. And on a lower level, I feel like men are being shamed for what they desire and what they find physically attractive. So because of the body positivity movement, I feel like men are being told all women are beautiful, you should like all women, whatever race, shape, size, you should like them. And I just don't think that's helpful at all, because I feel men are the same. They're wired to be physically attracted to certain types of women and look for that. It's not all about seeing what's inside a woman, seeing her for what's on the inside. I think that's quite pretentious. And as I said before, physical attractiveness of women is a useful tool for men and their social status. Women, of course, we like attractive men, but it's not that useful for us. If a guy's attractive but he's a bum, that doesn't help us. So utility isn't just finances. It can be things like, can they cook? Will they be good with the children? Can they run a household? Do they make good decisions? Those kinds of things can actually be useful to a person. And you need to consider if the other person has those things that you will find useful. So if a person isn't improving your life in any way, then they're a leech and you shouldn't be with them. And that sounds really harsh, but it's not. We've all been leeches and we've all been leeched off of. And I have the same standards for myself as what I have for other people. So here's an example. I went on a date with this guy and he was what every woman is looking for. He was 6'5", he was wealthy, he had a good job, he was really good looking, nice car, whatever. So he spent the whole date trying to convince me that, of what he has and that he's a good guy. He was slightly psychopathic, but whatever. And I just didn't feel good. I just felt meh. And I should have been crazy about him, but I wasn't. And I wasn't quite sure why I was feeling that way. And then it kind of dawned on me when he was telling me about all the things he'd done, how successful he was and where he'd travelled. I said to him, I don't think I can add anything to your life. I don't think I have anything to offer you. And he looked at me really weirdly. And I think our date was doomed from that moment. But I guess he looked at me weirdly because no one ever admits that. And it sounds like low self-esteem. And it is a little bit coming from a place of low self-esteem and intimidation. But it was mostly from self-awareness. If he has this amazing life, I don't think I have the qualities to add anything to it. Because what I'm actually really good at is being supportive, emotional support, I'm really good at talking through things with guys. Guys find me really like peaceful to be around. And I felt like he wasn't looking for that. He said that he didn't have any emotions and he was happy about being emotionless and being mentally strong. So if he has no vulnerabilities, he doesn't need to talk out anything with me. He doesn't need the extra support. His life is just about his work and going to the gym. Then why am I there? What am I actually offering? I have no interest in going to the gym with him. I'm not living his lifestyle. So I didn't see how I could add anything to his life, and I was really upfront about it. So of course he's a guy, so he lied. He was like, yeah, but I can see that, we could still have fun together, and I'd like to take you out on another date. And I knew that was going to happen. And then we didn't talk to each other again. But that's an example of where I can see when I could be a leech. I could have just signed up with it and just taken from him. But I didn't see where I fit into his life. And I know some women would be like, you should just go for it, you deserve it. And I do have high standards and I know what I deserve, but I know when I just don't fit in with someone's life, and I know when I don't have anything to offer that person. I have a lot to offer as a person, but not anything to offer that specific person. And I was able to identify that, and I just wish that we were all that honest. But I feel like most people just go with the flow, and if they see something good, they're just going to jump on it without actually thinking if it's going to work. So yeah, I think it's really important to be self-aware. Also, he was a psychopath, so it never would have worked. So here we have it, the 5 elements of love. So we have respect, intimacy, care, commitment, and utility. I feel like if we're able to bring those things to the relationship effectively, then a relationship will last for a long time. But I feel like we miss quite a lot of those things. We never quite hit the mark. And I think that's why millennials and Gen Z are quite messed up, because we're missing quite a few of those things, like emotional connection, intimacy. Because we're meeting a lot of people on dating apps and social media, we're not building true connections. I can honestly say when I was 17, 18, when I was first dating, I had much better experiences dating than I do now in my 30s. I find the boys, they were much more mature at that age than they are at this age. And I was wondering why, and I think it's because there was no social media. We really had to connect and everybody had to try. And I feel like there's always a man or a woman one swipe away. So why would you even bother to make an effort? People are really lazy with their conversations. And I really struggle to make connections with people these days. So I'm really trying to get to grips with being a crazy single cat lady for the rest of my life. And I'm okay with that. I love cats. And I know that's a scare tactic that people use to get people to settle into horrible relationships. But I'm okay with being a cat lady. It's just sad that I can't find somebody who's on my level of consciousness, but it's fine. So I just think this generation, we're really struggling because it's become a zero-sum game. Everyone's just trying to quickly grab what they want and quickly feel good without actually thinking about what they have to offer and what they truly desire. And I think going with the flow is what actually led us here. No one is being conscious and mindful when it comes to their relationship. So I'm going to end it here because I can go on forever on this topic. But let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you agree with my list, my 5 elements of love. And yeah, let me know what you've experienced. So thank you for watching and have a good day.